What if the biggest threat to your success isn't failure, but success itself? What if that thing you're chasing, growth, could actually be the very thing that brings your whole world crashing down? Well, that's the wild, counterintuitive idea from Jim Collins we're going to dig into today. All right, let's dive right in. We all have this picture in our heads, right, of why great companies fail. We imagine these giants getting fat and happy, lazy. But when Collins and his team actually crunched the numbers and studied the data, they found something completely different. The story of decline almost never starts where we think it does. And this is where the entire script gets flipped. Get this. The research showed it wasn't complacency that brought down these great companies. It was the exact opposite. It was this aggressive, undisciplined pursuit of more. More growth, more territory, more of everything, way too fast. It's not about getting lazy, it's about reaching too far too soon. So, if overreaching is the disease, what are the symptoms? This is where Collins gives us this brilliant framework that basically acts like a check engine light for any organization. It's a 5-stage map that shows exactly how the mighty fall, often long before anyone on the outside has a clue there's a problem. Here it is, the roadmap to ruin. Stage 1 flows into 2, 2 flows into 3, and you see how it goes. But here's the truly terrifying part. An organization can be deep into stage 3, looking successful and healthy to the entire world, while the disease is already rotting it from the inside out. Everything begins right here, in stage 1. Now, success itself isn't the problem. The problem is what success can breed, hubris. And this isn't just confidence, it's a destructive kind of arrogance, where you start to believe your own hype, thinking that success is something you're entitled to, not something you have to earn every single day. And that hubris, it leads directly to stage 2, that overreaching we were just talking about. This is when you start jumping into new areas you have no business being in. It's when you're growing faster than you can find great people, so your quality starts to slip. You're basically abandoning the very discipline that made you successful to begin with. So what happens when the warning signs start to appear? When the data turns a little bit negative? Well, in stage 3, you just explain it away. People who raise the red flag are suddenly seen as not team players. A dangerous bubble forms where the leader's optimistic version of reality completely replaces what's actually happening on the ground. By this point, the bubble has burst. The decline is obvious to everyone. But the response is rarely a calm return to discipline. Oh no. Instead, it's panic. It's a frantic search for a quick fix, a silver bullet. Maybe it's a visionary new CEO, a massive acquisition, or some dramatic new strategy. These moves often create a short-term blip of hope, but then the downward spiral continues. And finally, you hit stage 5. After enough failed silver bullets, after enough grasping, the organization simply runs out of cash, runs out of energy, runs out of options. The damage is just too great. It's irreversible. It's game over. But, and this is a huge but, it's not all doom and gloom. This was one of the most powerful findings from the research. I mean, you look at a company like Apple in the late 90s or IBM in the early 90s. They were so far down this path, everyone had written them off for dead. And yet, they came back, stronger than ever. This proves that decline is not inevitable. It's a choice. So, what's the antidote? If hubris is the poison that kicks off this whole death spiral, the cure has to be its polar opposite. Collins identified a very specific type of leadership that seems to vaccinate an organization against this disease. He calls it level 5. This is the absolute core of the solution. And level 5 leadership is not about being nice or soft or meek. It's this strange and incredibly paradox. On one hand, you have this deep, genuine, personal humility. And on the other, you have a fierce, unstoppable professional will to do whatever it takes to make the organization great. And this really gets at why humility is so important. Think about it. A super charismatic leader can use their personality to persuade people they're right, even when all the data says they're wrong. But a level 5 leader, who often isn't a dazzling personality, has to win their arguments based on the merits alone, with logic, with evidence, with reason. This simple analogy just captures the whole idea perfectly. When things are going great, level 5 leaders point out the window. They credit other people, they credit good luck, they credit factors outside themselves. But when things go badly, they look straight in the mirror and say, "This is on me, I am responsible." It's the absolute opposite of the hubris we saw back in stage 1. And here's what that humility looks like in the real world. Sam Walton was visiting a competitor's store, and his executives were coming out laughing about how terrible it was. Walton literally stopped them and said, "You go back in that store right now, and you come out with a half a dozen things that they do better than us." He never believed he had all the answers. That's a level 5 mindset. But remember, it is not just about being humble. It's also about having an unbreakable will. When Katharine Graham faced massive pressure from the US government not to publish the Pentagon Papers, a move that could have destroyed her family's company, she didn't blink. She made the tough, dangerous call because it was the right thing to do for the institution. That is professional will. So, after all this, what's the big takeaway for you? It really boils down to one single, incredibly personal question that gets right to the heart of what it means to be a level 5 leader. You know, you can say all the right things. You can tell everyone you're doing it for the mission, for the team, for the cause. But over time, across thousands of small decisions, the real truth of your ambition will always come out. Is it truly about what you're building? Or is it deep down really just about you? And that brings us to the final provocative test. Just think about it for a second. If you can answer this question, if there is something you are willing to pour your life's work into, taking full responsibility for its success, all while knowing you will get zero credit for it, then you're on the path to building something that truly lasts.